Hi there, it's Olga. Today I'm going to create a couple of shaker cards and I'm going to focus on a very interesting technique that definitely deserves more attention. That technique is a no-frame shaker windows. It really looks great and it's simple to make, so let's get started and see how it's done. To begin with, we'll need a 4¼ by 5½ card base, plus we are going to need two panels that are the same size. We'll also need a piece of acetate that is a bit larger than the card front. I didn't measure the acetate size, I'll just trim it down if I need to. So what I have to do now is I'm placing the acetate onto my scoring board and I'm scoring it at about 1 inch from the edge. And then I'm scoring at the next 1/8 of an inch fold. So I have created a double fold here, as you can see. Then I'm going to use the bone folder and fold the acetate along both scored lines. This double fold is going to give me some dimensions so that I can put some sequins inside, just like in a regular shaker card. I'll try to catch the light for you so that you can see better what you should end up with. It looks a bit like a book cover with the 1/8 of an inch spine. Then I'm going to use my tape dispenser and apply some double-sided adhesive onto the flap there. And then I'm going to attach it to the yellow panel at the wrong side. It might look a tiny bit complicated right now, but once you see the end result, you'll know exactly what to do. So now it looks like a book cover, but one side of it is yellow and the other one is acetate. The next step is really easy. I'm going to attach that entire piece onto my card base. So again, I'm using double-sided tape and I'm placing my panel on top of it just like that. Now I have one remaining panel and this is the one that I should cut the window into. So I'm going to use the largest die from Circle Basics die set by Memory Box. I'm placing it so that it hangs off the edge of the panel and then I'm going to send it through the die cutting machine. I'm going to put that half circle away because I'm only going to need the frame, and then I'm going to use the same die together with one smaller die from the same set to cut out the circle frame out of red cardstock. This frame is only for decoration and actually you can create the same type of card without that red frame. Now I'm applying double-sided adhesive again on the wrong side of that panel and I'm paying a bit more attention to the corners to make sure they are going to be well stuck. Then I'm adhering that panel onto the acetate. I just have to make sure I'm not covering up the fold and that little 1/8 of an inch spine should remain clear. So this is what the card looks like at the moment. It's like a little book with a spine. Now I'm going to attach that red frame that I made earlier. I'm just placing it inside the large window and attaching it right onto the acetate. And then I'm going to trim off the excess. As always, the tools and supplies I'm using are listed down below in the description box as well as on my blog. Now this card looks a lot like a regular shaker card, the only difference being that the two panels are connected at one side. Now I am applying 2 layers of double-sided tape just as usual, making sure that I'm not covering up the window. Two layers of foam tape seem to be about the same thickness as that 1/8 of an inch fold. So again, this is the card with the two connected panels instead of the two separate panels. Now I just have to peel off the liner from the foam tape, and then I'm going to fill in the shaker window with the sequins. The shaker card filler I'm going to use is called Mickey Ears Sprinkles, and it's by Cat Scrappiness. Sprinkles are very similar to regular confetti, but they are actually much thicker. So I have added some sprinkles onto my card, and now I'm closing up the card just like a book. I'm making sure that I'm aligning the corners, and this is what the shaker element looks like. To finish off the card, I'm going to attach some hearts onto the card front. The dies I'm using are WHITTLE hearts and WHITTLE heart frames by Poppy Stamps. I've die cut the hearts out of red and orange papers, and now I'm just attaching them on top of the card front using the double-sided tape. After I have attached the hearts, I've noticed that this card is really missing a sentiment, so I'm going to add one from the stamp set called Best Life Typewriter Sentiments. It's by Memory Box. I'm stamping that sentiment with the black Archival ink. It's better to do it before you attach the panel to the card, but it worked really well and it stamped really nicely. And even if it didn't, I would cover it up with a sentiment strip. But since it worked so well, I've decided to add one more sentiment at the top of the card. So this is what the finished card looks like. It seems like the sequins are going to fall off the edge, but they don't. I would also like to make another card to show you that you can also make the open edges on both sides of the card if you want to. I'm going to assemble it in a slightly different way, and it's even easier than the previous one. So again, I'm starting with a card base and two card panels, plus a piece of acetate that is the same height as my card, but a bit longer. Since this card is going to be mouse and cheese themed, I'm going to use the same nested circle die set to create the holes in the cheese. I'm simply playing around with the different sizes of circles, then I'm taping them down, sending them through the machine, and here is my panel. This time I'm going to apply some adhesive onto this panel, and I'm going to attach it right onto the acetate. This method seems to be a bit easier since you will not have to pre-measure anything. So now I'm going to attach my acetate on top of this panel. You know, it's the same height as the panel, and you'll see that the acetate is hanging off the both edges of the panel, just like that. Now I'm placing this panel onto my scoring board again, and I'm scoring one time right along the edge of the panel, and then at the next 1/8 of an inch mark. I'm flipping over the panel and repeating the same process, and this way I'm going to have double folds at both edges of the card. And now I'm going to use the bone folder to fold along the crease lines. I'm going to get the panel with two tabs at both sides and the two spines as well. The next step will be attaching the double-sided foam tape. It's a bit tricky just because this panel has a lot of that small circles, and I will have to go around each circle to make sure my sequins are not going to seep through. This time I'm only going to apply one layer of foam tape, although you definitely can go with it too. Then I'm going to fill in the windows with the sequins. I'm using the wood grain sequins, also by Cat Scrappiness. I think they are just super cute. I just have to make sure that no sequins are stuck to the foam tape so that I could seal up the windows really well. And then I'm going to take my second panel and cover up the first panel with it. At this point, I'm not lifting up the panel from the tabletop because some windows at the sides are open and I don't want the sequins to go out. So I'm applying some adhesive onto the card at the wrong side and I'm sticking down the tabs. And now the shaker element is ready. All I have to do is to attach it to the card front. Now when I'm done with the shaker element, I'm going to add some sentiments and I'll be using the same sentiment set. I'm curving each sentiment so that it's going to repeat the curve of the circle window, and then I'm going to stamp them down using some Archival ink again. I'll be stamping multiple sentiments all from the same set, using the same technique. And once I'm done with the stamping, I'm going to add my focal images, which is going to be some mice. Actually, I'm going to use one and the same die. It's called Whittle Mouse by Poppy Stamps. I've die cut it out of white, black and gray cardstock. Now I'm just applying some adhesive and sticking them down into the larger holes in the cheese panel. Then as a finishing touch, I'm going to add 3 red small half pearls to the nose of each mouse. And this is the card with the open windows on both edges. As you see, this technique is pretty simple. You won't need any specific supplies, just the regular ones that you use for all your shaker cards. I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial and you'll give this technique a try. Have a beautiful week and I hope to see you again really soon. Bye bye.